You are my sunshine, my only sunshine.
When you hear the name LeBron James, you don't just think of a basketball player. You think of a phenomenon, a man who didn't just play the game, he reshaped it. Born in 1984 in Akron, Ohio, LeBron is not just an athlete. He's a cultural icon, a symbol of resilience, power, and purpose. From the moment he stepped onto the court as a teenager, he was dubbed the Chosen One. And over the years, he's more than lived up to that prophecy. His basketball accolades are staggering. Four-time NBA champion, four-time NBA Most Valuable Player MVP, two-time Olympic gold medalist, became the NBA's all-time leading scorer in 2023, selected for a record 20 All-Star appearances. But LeBron's impact goes far beyond basketball. Off the court, he's a voice for justice, a philanthropist, and an entrepreneur. He stood up against racial inequality and systemic injustice, using his platform to spark change. In his hometown of Akron, he founded the I Promise School, a free public school for at-risk children, giving hope to those who grew up like he did. He's also a successful businessman, owning Spring Hill Company, producing films, and investing in major ventures. He's become a global brand, blending athleticism, intelligence, and social responsibility into one powerful figure. But this journey didn't begin with privilege. It began in poverty, in instability. LeBron grew up without a father. Raised by a single mother who struggled to make ends meet, he moved from apartment to apartment, sometimes missing school, sometimes sleeping on a couch. What he didn't have in resources, he made up for in heart. That's why this episode is called From Fatherless Kid to Cleveland Cavaliers Icon. Because before he wore a championship ring or broke scoring records, LeBron was just a boy with a dream. And he chased that dream with everything he had. Now let's rewind the clock. Let's go back to those early days in Akron and discover how a kid with no father, no stability, and no guarantees became King James. Before the arenas, before the cameras, before the nickname King James echoed through stadiums across America, there was just a little boy, LeBron Raymond James, born on December 30th, 1984, in the struggling city of Akron, Ohio. A boy without a father, a boy with nothing, except a mother who refused to give up on him. Gloria James was only 16 when she gave birth to LeBron. She was young, scared, and alone. The man who should have been LeBron's father vanished long before he could ever hold his son. That absence would echo through LeBron's early life, not just as a void in the family, but as a silent motivator. He didn't have a dad to teach him how to shoot a basketball or ride a bike. But he had Gloria. She was everything. A warrior in sneakers and work boots, doing whatever she had to just to survive. They moved constantly, sometimes every few weeks. LeBron missed nearly 100 days of school in the 4th grade. They were evicted more than once. Some nights they had to sleep on friends' couches. Some days they had no food in the fridge. It wasn't just a tough childhood, it was a chaotic one. But even in the middle of all that instability, LeBron had one constant: basketball. He was already tall for his age, fast, strong, gifted. But more than anything, he had fire, the kind you can't teach. He played anywhere he could on cracked asphalt courts with borrowed shoes under flickering streetlights. It was in those early years that LeBron found something that made him feel in control. The court became his escape, his therapy, his voice. While other kids played for fun, LeBron played like he had something to prove, because he did. He wasn't just trying to win a game. He was trying to win his life back. One day, a local youth football coach named Frank Walker noticed LeBron's raw athleticism. He introduced him to organized sports and even took him into his home when life got too unstable. That act of kindness would change everything. For the first time, LeBron had structure. He had encouragement. He had hope. This was the foundation. Akron didn't just raise LeBron, it forged him. Every broken move, every empty fridge, every silent night without a father, it all became fuel. And soon that fuel would ignite a legend. LeBron wasn't just good, he was different. By the time he entered St. Vincent St. Mary High School in Akron, it was clear something extraordinary was happening. At just 14, LeBron was already 6'2", with the vision of a point guard and the strength of a forward. But it wasn't just his physical gifts. It was his IQ, his feel for the game, his unselfishness. He didn't dominate to look flashy, he dominated to win. And soon the whole country would take notice. As a freshman, LeBron led his team to an undefeated season and a state championship. He was still a kid barely shaving, but scouts were already whispering, "This one's special." By his sophomore year, the whispers turned to headlines. National magazines began featuring him. ESPN started showing up to his games. Cameras followed his every move. At just 16 years old, LeBron was called the future of basketball. His high school gym could no longer hold the crowds. Games were moved to college arenas to accommodate thousands. Jay-Z sat courtside. College recruiters lined the walls. NBA players called to give encouragement. Everyone wanted a piece of the kid from Akron. And through it all, LeBron remained grounded. It wasn't just his skill. It was his humility. He passed when he could have scored. He lifted his teammates instead of chasing the spotlight. He made it clear, "I'm not a one-man show. I want to win together." That mindset made him not just a great player, but a great leader. In his junior year, LeBron was named Mr. Basketball of Ohio, and he'd win the title 3 times before graduating. Sports Illustrated put him on the cover with the words, "The Chosen One." A high school kid, on the cover of a national magazine meant for pros. But all that attention wasn't without pressure. Critics said he was overhyped. Others called him arrogant. The media dissected every mistake. Yet LeBron kept showing up game after game, dominating, smiling, and proving the hype was real. He could have gone to any college in the country, but LeBron didn't take the college route. Because something even bigger was calling. The NBA was knocking. And LeBron, still just a teenager, was about to answer that call, not just as a player, but as a hometown savior. June 26, 2003. Madison Square Garden, New York City. The room was electric cameras, flashing reporters, whispering, and millions watching live. And right there, wearing a crisp white suit, calm but glowing, stood an 18-year-old kid from Akron, LeBron James. Everyone knew what was coming. For months, analysts had said it. Fans had begged for it. Scouts had confirmed it. But when NBA Commissioner David Stern stepped to the podium and spoke those words, with the first pick in the 2003 NBA draft, the Cleveland Cavaliers select LeBron James, it still felt surreal. Cleveland didn't just get a player that night. They got hope. The Cavaliers had been struggling for years. No championships, no superstars, a franchise buried in obscurity. But now, a native son, a kid raised just 40 miles away, was coming home to revive the dream. The city embraced him like royalty. And just like that, the weight of an entire franchise, an entire region, was placed on a teenager's shoulders. LeBron didn't flinch. The moment he stepped onto the court in his NBA debut, he dropped 25 points, 9 assists, and 6 rebounds against the Sacramento Kings. He played with a poise and vision that didn't make sense for his age. Fans weren't just watching a rookie, they were watching the beginning of something historic. He would go on to win NBA Rookie of the Year, averaging over 20 points per game. But it wasn't just the numbers. It was the way he played. Fast breaks like lightning, bullet passes across the court, chase down blocks, dunks that made crowds erupt, and always that unselfish mindset. Cleveland began to believe again. But the pressure was relentless. Every loss was blamed on him. Every success was expected. He was still learning, still growing, but the media demanded greatness now. And yet through every headline, every doubt, every challenge, LeBron just kept working, kept showing up, kept leading. He wasn't just a rookie, he was a symbol. A local boy with the world on his back, trying to turn a broken franchise into a contender. And in the years to come, he would do far more than that. He would give Cleveland something it hadn't had in decades, a reason to believe in miracles. The early years were just the beginning. Now, LeBron James wasn't just playing in Cleveland, he was Cleveland. Every time he stepped onto the hardwood at Quicken Loans Arena, the crowd roared like it was their hearts beating through his chest. They didn't just watch him, they leaned on him. And night after night, he delivered. By his third season, LeBron was averaging nearly 31 points per game, leading the Cavaliers into the playoffs for the first time since 1998. It was no longer about potential. It was about power. Every year he evolved stronger, smarter, more complete. The game slowed down for him, but he sped it up for everyone else. And Cleveland. The city began to rise with him. Businesses near the arena flourished. TV ratings soared. Jerseys sold out. Kids in Akron wore his number and believed if LeBron could do it, maybe they could too. He wasn't just a basketball player, he was hope incarnate. But greatness comes with a price. Critics said he couldn't close games. They questioned his leadership, his shooting, his killer instinct. Every playoff loss brought more doubt. In 2007, LeBron dragged an underdog Cavaliers team to the NBA Finals carrying a roster with no other stars. It was miraculous, but they were swept by the San Antonio Spurs. The media turned. Is he really the next Jordan, they asked? Still, LeBron never lashed out. He absorbed the criticism like a shield. He didn't blame. He learned. Every defeat became fuel. Every whisper of doubt added to the fire burning inside him. Behind the scenes, he worked obsessively. On his jump shot, his leadership, his body, his mind. Every summer he came back better, because he knew being great wasn't enough. Not for Cleveland, not for himself. The pressure grew. Fans expected rings. The city craved a title. LeBron had taken them higher than they'd been in decades, but it still wasn't enough. Not yet. He was no longer just a phenom. He was now the king, and kings are judged by the crowns they wear. And so, under the weight of expectations, history, and an entire city's dreams, LeBron stood tall. But something was building inside him, a tension between loyalty and legacy. And soon that tension would erupt. July 8th, 2010. Millions of fans held their breath as LeBron James sat across from ESPN's Jim Gray. The special was called The Decision. The world watched. Cleveland watched. And then came 7 words that would shake a city to its core. I'm going to take my talents to South Beach. Just like that, the boy who carried a franchise, the man who brought a broken city back to life, was gone. The backlash was instant. Fans burned his jerseys in the streets. Radio hosts shouted betrayal. The owner of the Cavaliers, Dan Gilbert, wrote an open letter calling LeBron's departure a cowardly act, vowing the team would win a title before he ever would. It was raw, emotional, devastating. To many in Cleveland, it felt like abandonment. To LeBron, it was something else. He had given everything for 7 years. He had carried underwhelming rosters to the playoffs, led them to the finals. But he couldn't do it alone. He was chasing more than hometown love. He was chasing greatness, chasing championships. In Miami, he would join forces with Dwyane Wade and Chris Bosh, forming a modern super team. The move made sense on paper, but emotionally it was a bombshell. People questioned his loyalty, his legacy, his character. Overnight, LeBron became the villain of the NBA. But here's what they didn't see. Behind the cameras, behind the headlines, was a man still haunted by the need to prove himself. Not to the critics, to himself. He knew the pain he'd caused. He knew what he'd left behind. But he also knew something else. He wasn't done writing his story. In Miami, he would grow not just as a player, but as a man. He would learn what it took to win at the highest level. He would face pressure, failure, and redemption. But in Cleveland, hearts stayed broken. Kids took down posters. Murals were defaced. The chosen one had chosen somewhere else. And yet, even in betrayal, even in heartbreak, deep down the city still watched, still cared, because they weren't just mad at LeBron. They missed him. And though they didn't know it yet, the king would return.